there, thank you for joining us today. Jimmy and Bob here. We're bringing you another deal of the week. This is a pretty amazing deal, and we're pretty excited about it. And hopefully, we've got something here that'll be valuable. Okay, this property is a 3-bed, 1-bath house with 2,024 square feet, and it's also on a 1.24 acre lot. Has a 2-car garage and a detached barn workshop. I love when we can get deals like this. This is a really unique property, and to have 2,000 square feet and a 1.24 acre lot with the detached barn, this is going to be something.
When did you discover that these detached barns and garages were such a big deal?
We bought a property out in I don't even know what the town is, but it's way out in the boonies, but had a huge oversized 6-car garage. And I didn't really like the house except for it had this thing, and it was too cheap to not buy it. We bought it for like $35,000 for a full house and this little workshop thing, and we just had an overwhelming demand because a lot of people said, "Hey, I'm a mechanic, or I've got this little side business, whatever it may be." And we realized, a lot of folks who are handy and do these kind of odd jobs, or are contractors. It's great because it's a money making it's an income source for them. So,
and we did a from the field video about these detached garages or barns, and in the last year I've been shocked about how much value that does add to a rental.
Yeah, especially
a lease to own. So we're looking for somebody who's going to put sweat equity into it anyway, and they are generally handy. So they're going to want a space like this. Who doesn't? I would love a detached barn in my house.
Oh yeah, it's so cool. Yeah,
and there's no, there's nothing in a real estate book I've ever seen that talks about big workspaces.
No, and you talk to a lot of landlords. A lot of landlords will shy away from this 1.24 acre lot. To me, it's a huge selling feature. This is a property I would love to live in, and so when we look for lease option properties, you kind of have a different mindset than a regular landlord, because a regular landlord looks at this and he says,
right, because he has to pay for the lawn mowing.
Well, no, a tenant would be responsible for lawn mowing. The big thing, which I've heard other big landlords talk about, is after a storm, there's going to be a ton of tree cleanup and tree trimming and maybe taking down stuff on this large of a lot. And that can be pretty expensive. But if we're doing a lease option, our tenant buyer is responsible for that. So it's really not a concern. And obviously there's a ton of value in the lot. And yeah, it's just cool. So I'm going to actually try and pull up an aerial for you here too, folks. It's something we haven't done before, so it'll be a little special treat for you.
And this is Spanish Lake, right?
Yeah, this is up in Spanish Lake. I got a little slide here in a few that shows exactly where this is for people who are not familiar with St. Louis. Okay, so folks, I'm going to zoom in here for you. You can see exactly what we're working with. This is the Spanish Lake right here for those that are familiar with St. Louis. And the reason I like this area is because, as you can tell, it's kind of a farming community. It's on the outskirts of St. Louis, but a lot of properties up here have these large lots, and there's just huge demand for them from tenant buyers.
So in the back, that's the detached garage?
Yeah, this is the detached barn, workshop, garage thing. It needs work, but hey, it's a barn, so it doesn't have to be that nice. All it has to do is pretty much be dry. Here's the actual house, and the lot goes from here, this main drag, all the way over here and down back to the field here. So it's very private. You just got these 2 houses on this back offshoot, and then your detached barn area thing back here. So pretty cool. And fun fact, we actually offered on this house. So here's some interior pics for you. Here's a large den. There's actually a fireplace you can't see in the picture here. I still got the green shag carpeting, and I've done a video walkthrough of this property too, so look for that out there, folks, and you can actually see me tour the property in person, and you can get more details on what's going on the inside here. One little tip for you out there, newbie investors, is if you open up these closets here, and look down at the floor, you can figure out pretty easily if there's hardwood under here. So there's actually hardwood all under this green shag carpet, and just you take a peek in there, and typically the carpet won't be put in the closets. But there's 3 bedrooms all like this one, nothing too different in the other pictures. We just threw this one up here. Hardwood floors. Kitchen's dated, but everything's there. It's clean, it's functional, and that's what we shoot for with these lease option deals, is a property like this. I think the seller was an elderly woman. She's lived there for 20, 30 years, and the property's clean. It's been very well maintained. It just hasn't been updated in quite a while, but it's for the most part kind of move-in ready. Here's some more pictures. Another bedroom. The back decks are pretty small, but that's something that can be added down the line. As you can see, huge yard, tons of room for kids to play, lots of off-street parking. This entire drive is pretty much yours as well.
Or if the tenant buyer has a dog, that...
Oh, yeah.
For kids or a dog, that is heaven.
I even think in this area, there's plenty of room. You can raise chickens. There's lots of options here. They have a huge little garden back here. And here's that 2-car tuck under garage. So where did we find this deal? This one was actually listed on the MLS. So plenty of other folks could have gotten this deal. It was listed for 6 months at $99,000, and obviously if it was listed for 6 months at $99,000, nobody wanted to pull the trigger at that price. As you can tell, it was dated. It needs some work. If you're gonna make this up to standards, up to par, easily going to spend probably $30,000 between a new kitchen, updating the bathroom, doing some work in the basements, adding those decks. Probably maybe even closer to 40. The seller ended up price dropping it to $74,900. At that point, it was at a price where I became interested, so I offered $60,000 on the house. And within a day or two, their agent got back to us and said, "Oh no, that's crazy. The seller's not going to go a dime below $70,000." I said, "Okay, that's fine. I'm not interested in it at 70. I'm going to stick to my guns at 60." Somebody else, I guess, put it under contract at that point at a price that was higher than my offer, and the seller accepted. So the property went contingent for 30 days, and for whatever reason that initial buyer backed out. There was something probably on the inspection that they didn't like, they weren't comfortable with, or didn't understand when they first made that offer, and so eventually it dropped out of contract, and they pretty much immediately price dropped it to $65,000, and this was a month after they had said they wouldn't go below 70, and
this is probably the seller's kids making these decisions.
No, this was the seller.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
The seller was still involved with this. This is not a probate deal or estate deal. But you can see, time and circumstances changes all people's motivations. And we as investors, we can afford to be patient because we don't have to buy this house. I know we're buying 5 to 8 houses every month. And there's going to be some deals that come along, and there's going to be some deals we miss. So I've got my price, and I know where I need to be at for it to be a good deal for me. And if I don't buy this house, it's not a big deal. But the seller has to sell this house. This is their one and only house, most likely. And so they ended up price dropping to $65,000. And I said, you know what? It's been 45, 60 days. I resubmitted at a lower price at $57,000, and they accepted. They could have originally accepted my offer of $60,000, but I felt since they dropped it that much, $10,000, and had their first contract fall through, I felt I could get away with dipping it down a little bit. So we actually saved an extra $3,000 on this house, and we came in with a strong offer. And by strong, I mean not having any contingencies. The first buyer on this property had an inspection contingency, and obviously, it ended up falling through. So when I can come in with an all-cash offer and no contingencies at even a lower price, it gets people's attention because they know it's a done deal and they don't have to think about it, and don't have to go through that emotional torment anymore. So here's a little layout of St. Louis, Spanish Lake up here in this top corner. Like I said, an old kind of farming community that's eventually backfilled in. There's some subdivisions, some apartment complexes. I love Spanish Lake. I think it's a great area to buy houses in. You can get absolute steals like this deal.
It got kind of a bad rap because of that Netflix video.
Yeah. There's a little documentary on Spanish Lake, which is pretty funny. My high school baseball coach is actually in the documentary. He's got some apartment complexes up here. So I rather enjoyed it, but Spanish Lake did get a little bit of a bad rap, but I think it's a great area.
I mean, it's a rural area, 20 minutes outside of a major city.
Yeah, we've got another property we bought 2 years ago. It was actually one of our very first lease option deals. It's on a 1.5 acre lot, 1,170 square foot house, full basement, 2-car detached garage, kind of same story. We bought that house for $19,000. I mean, and only in Spanish Lake are you going to get that kind of a deal and that much land. So I love it. So here's some recent comps. We pulled these directly from the multiple listing service as soon as we had the deal under contract. And these are houses that have sold probably within a 1 mile, maybe even a 1.5 mile radius. With this property being so unique with the large footprint, over 2,000 square feet, and having some acreage, we probably had to go a little bit further out to pull these comps. But you can see, all these houses are selling. The lowest one is 127, a lot in the 140 range, and some even up to 197. This house was probably fully fixed up and nice, but look, you've got all these homes in this neighborhood with similar bedrooms, footprints, and floor plans and amount of land selling for $127 to almost $200,000. So that's how we know that we've got some equity in this deal, that we know it's a good pickup, and that there's going to be a market out there for a lease option. And this is essentially a security in the deal for ourselves, our big back-end payday for ourselves, and also our safety cushion for our investors. So we always like to evaluate the loan to value. Our total investment on this property was $65,000. So purchase price was $57,000. We had some closing costs, and we had a little bit of money. We like to borrow a little bit more, always as a safety cushion in case something needs to be addressed after it as far as fix-up work. So even taking the kind of the lower end number of 140, that's a 46% loan to value.
And the thing about loan to value is it's not an exact science. So when we buy, we got to buy low.
Yeah.
Because what's something worth what you can sell it for?
Exactly. And obviously, the seller couldn't sell.
So like if we were coming to you and saying, we bought this for 120, but here's a $20,000 worth of value, we're not going to be able to look an investor in the eye and say, hey, this is super secure.
Yeah, exactly.
But when it's under 50%, we look the investor right in the eye and say, even in financial Armageddon, you got a good chance of retaining the value in that house.
Exactly. And if you're an investor buying properties in your local area or working with a real estate investor and you're making private money loans, you don't want to be anywhere north of probably 65 to 70 cents on the dollar. I
think there's enough deals out there that 60 is the top.
Oh, for sure.
It
does depend on the market. St. Louis, the Midwest,
and we're spoiled.
You can get these type of deals still all day long. The coasts have heated back up. The markets are a little hotter. And there's also just a lot of competition. Everybody's seen the Flip This House show, and they want to be a flipper, and so properties get bid up, and just with the price points, you've got an $800,000 million home is the norm out in LA, San Diego. You're not going to get these kind of spreads. There's just too much capital, too much money rolling around out there that the opportunity cost of that capital sitting around is going to bid that price up. So you can go as probably high as 80, 85%. I know some people do it. I wouldn't do it, but it's just a different game out there. So when we bought this property, I projected rent to be $1,200 to $1,400 a month. $1,200 I knew was on the low end, but you just never know. Sometimes we buy these houses and they sit for a few months. but I thought maybe we could get upwards of $1,400.
But you knew somebody was going to see that barn and want it.
Oh, for sure.
And want it.
And 1.25 acres, 2,000 square foot house. I mean, the house is dated, but it's functional, it's solid, everything's there. So what did we end up getting on this property? Well, this one turned out to be an absolute cash cow, and I got these lovely graphics in here for you folks. This is something new I'll be adding to future videos. But we got an $8,000 non-refundable option deposit from our tenant buyer. So day one, when we handed this person, our tenant buyer, the keys, they gave us $8,000. And that's the beauty of lease options, is we get this immediate cash in the door. That's a lot of money to put right in our pocket right off the bat. We're getting $1,500 per month in rent, actually $1,535, and I'll explain that $35 here in a second. We got another hot tip for you. But then the option price from our tenant buyer is $129,900. So we sold this one. We left a little bit of equity for our tenant buyer. You know, the comps are 140, 150, maybe upwards of 190. So if our tenant buyer puts that $20,000 into it, which most of our folks are contractors, they're handymen, they can get stuff done a lot cheaper than we can as investors or retail homeowners. So, you know, they might just buy the materials or have them lying around and can make this type of thing work. But $1,535 per month, we're going to break it down for you and see how much of that actually ends up in our pocket. But very happy with this deal so far. And the key here... That's
my guy, Nassim Taleb. He's always talking about skin in the game. Read Anti-Fragile. It's incredible.
Yeah, so if you can't tell by now, Jimmy's got a little bit of a man crush on this.
Big man crush on
this.
Big man
crush. All right, not even a little one. But skin in the game is very important, and obviously we got the definition here: have a personal investment in an organization or undertaking, and therefore a vested interest in its success. And that's the whole key here, and the special sauce, the lease option deals, is this $8,000 by our tenant buyer. That is a ton of skin in the game for this demographic. I mean, based upon our investment, I mean, we're in this house for $60,000. That's whatever, 12%, 15% skin in the game for what we're in it for. And that's a lot for a person to walk away from. If it's just a lot of motivation for them to pay their rent every month, and to make sure that this deal goes smoothly going forward. And if for whatever reason it does go south, if we have to evict, it helps us weather those storms, and we know we can get another big option deposit from our next person. This is just the beauty of lease options.
And that $8,000 goes to the down payment when this tenant buyer buys the property.
Yes.
It motivates us to help them fix their credit and sell this through.
Yeah. It does count towards the purchase price, that $129,900. So when they actually exercise their option and go to buy the house, that'll count towards the purchase price. And the other thing, I just remember this, I forgot about it, but we bought this house on a Friday, and we had that option deposit in hand Monday. 3 days later, we didn't have the full amount, but we knew the 8 was coming, and I think he gave us the initial 3 or 4 on the Monday, and we ended up, lining everything up and getting the paperwork done maybe a week later.
And that $8,000 is 6% of the down payment. What is FHA right now? I think is
3.5,
requiring 3.5%. So the down payment.
So that's down payment and closing costs right there.
Right. So it's another obstacle already done. This guy, I think his credit's close. He's going to need some little time with us, but. Yeah. There's no reason he couldn't purchase this within a year.
Yeah, but if you can move a property within 3 days of buying it, think how much holding costs you're limiting, how much overhead, how much management and contractors.
Right, because the interest we pay the private lender starts.
Oh, it starts ticking day one. Yeah. So that's the beauty of lease options, is there's an overwhelming demand, especially for a property like this. We always have,
and it's no real estate book is saying buy these workspaces, but maybe it's a St. Louis thing. I doubt it. Like if you're in the West or Southwest, if you have a workspace like this can definitely add value to your properties.
Yeah, for sure. So let's break down the numbers a little bit for you.
Favorite slide on every video.
Cash flow is king. We are cash flow investors. That is our primary core business model. We do selectively flip and wholesale deals when it makes sense, and we can get in and get out real quickly. We've got $1,535 per month coming in the door. If you've seen some of our videos before, you might have seen this $35 figure. What we do here is our tenant buyer is obviously responsible for the standard utilities, the electric and the gas, but most landlords will actually pay the MSD fee, that's the sewer district, out of their own pocket. And what we do is we set this monthly rent, and then when we come in, we say, actually, you know, there's this $35 fee, and it's not exactly $35, but we've averaged it out over a bunch of properties, and it's typically right around here, $35 a month, sometimes $40 a month. But we have our tenant buyer pay this utility because it's going to be a cost going out for us. So, you know, $35 isn't a lot, but you add that up over 100 properties, and this is something we implemented, maybe our 5th or 10th lease option deal that's really turned into a nice little added bonus for us. So we've got our expenses on the property. We broke down this tax into a monthly prorated amount of $158. Insurance is roughly $50 on this one. It's a little bit larger than our standard deal, and $35 per month MSD fee. And we've got a payment every month to our private lender, whether the property is vacant, whether it's occupied, whether we have to evict. Just like the bank, if we had a mortgage on this, our private lender is in the exact same position. We're paying $433.33 each and every month to our private lender, and our private lender here is in a very secure position, 46% loan to value, huge spread between our payment to them and our rent coming in the door. So if there's no place on Wall Street where he's going to get this sort of security. No, not at all. Yeah, I mean rents could drop by a third. Property values could drop in half, and our private lender is still going to get paid each and every month an above market return. And this particular lender, he's new to the real estate game, and he considered doing a turnkey deal with us where he would actually be the owner and we would set it up. But because of his work situation right now, he doesn't have the ability, the time to dedicate to learn to be an investor owner. So he's become an investor lender. And, you know, this is a pretty big win for us and for him and for the buyer. Yeah, so. Yeah. And you know, if you're new to real estate, I'm not saying you can't do it. I mean, this is a home run deal in our books. We didn't come out the gate swinging like this. You know, we took a lot of lumps, a lot of strikeouts on the way to get to a deal like this. And you know, we've got a big portfolio. This is a full-time business for us. We're not just passive investors, so we've got some overhead that does come out of the top of this. We've got an office, we've got staff. But yeah, $858 per month, not bad. I'll take as many deals like this as I can get. All right, want to find out more about us? Email us at joinoutproperties@gmail.com. There's Jimmy's cell phone number. And you can go to joinoutproperties.com to learn how to get involved in investments just like this one in St. Louis. And if you are wanting to take the leap and do some deals yourself, which I'm not going to tell anyone not to do that, but sometimes private lending is a good way to get some easy wins, like Jimmy said right off the bat. But if you want to do the thing yourself, go to autopilotassets.com. Check us out. Hope you enjoyed something. Have a good one. See ya.